Hey guys, I want to welcome you back to another episode of Pistons Talk Podcast presented by FanDuel. Today I'm joined by a very special guest from No Ceilings, Paige Otto. Paige, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Anthony. Thanks for having me. This is our first time on a podcast together. We've been collabing on Instagram throughout the playoffs, which has been fun, but super excited to talk draft with you today.
I think a lot of Pistons fans are really into the draft, especially after the Kevin O'Connor recent mock draft, because it's like, oh, Cameron Carter's going to slip down to 21. I was like, hey, what do you know, man? What do you know?
My guy. Yeah, you never know.
You never know. I know a lot of Pistons fans are really locked in with the draft because of where they're slotted at. But before we do kind of get into the draft, one of the first topics I wanted to talk with you about was just kind of your perspective. What do you think their biggest need is going into? Maybe they can address it in the NBA draft or possibly free agency trade.
Yeah, I think one of their biggest needs is kind of the point obvious that we need a second star, right? We need a secondary creator to go on with Cade. And if you look in the playoffs, right, Duren didn't play to his all-star caliber third team All-NBA level, right? His drop-off was pretty apparent. I know for one, was not the happiest in some of my posts, but he did come alive a little bit in the Cleveland series, but turnovers were definitely a problem. Our shooting wasn't that good as well, right? And I think we shot 35.9% in the playoffs, a little bit down from the regular season as well. And that Orlando Magic series, it was kind of we were the number one seed, 60-22 this year. And, we're going tooth and nail, try to get by. And, thankfully we won game 7. I was in the building for game 5 when it was kind of the battle of number 1 picks with Cade and Paolo, both dropping 40 points, just going at each other every single possession. Mm-hmm. And Asar was phenomenal in the playoffs, right? He definitely showed out to, the all defensive caliber player that he was this year. And he led the playoffs, in stocks, right? He was our best perimeter defender, overall great athletically, right? He's in the 99.9 percentile of athletes. Yeah. But, the holes in our team are apparent, right? We need shooting. We need another secondary creator. Dennis Jenkins really stepped up to the plate, especially when Cade was out with his punctured lung, right? He kind of stepped up to the plate, but he's still learning, right? This is a guy that, he wasn't on a guaranteed contract and then finally got one. He's still growing. And this draft is, where we can get those players that we can eventually develop into, those needs, right? Because this is a generational draft. And especially if you're looking at the guard spot and the forward spot, it is pretty loaded. So I think this is the draft. And thankfully we do have the 21st pick, thanks to, the Jaden Ivey going to the Bulls, right? We kind of got that pick from them, right? So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different possibilities, and I think a lot of trade talks. There was one new today that I saw of getting Tyler Hero in exchange from trying to make Miami Heat work for Giannis. It was Karis LeVert and our 21st pick for Tyler Hero, so that's definitely interesting. One of the better trade deals that I've seen that I liked, but yeah, Pistons are in a really good spot this year.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I mentioned Tyler Hero 2 months ago, and everyone's just like, "Yeah, right, man. No way. Miami's letting it go." But I mean, any minute now, Giannis could be in Miami. I mean, you see reports of Khalil Ware, who actually kind of wanted the Pistons to draft a couple seasons ago because I really liked him. But to your point, I think you're spot on. They do need a secondary creator. I honestly think looking into this draft, and we'll get into some prospects in a little bit, but they definitely need another go-to bucket getter next to Cade. I think that's why you saw Dennis Jenkins finish out the playoff series against the Cleveland Cavaliers, is because they've been longing for a combo guard, 2-guard that can shoot threes the way Dennis can just kind of facilitate and take over games. I don't know if there's a player like that could be there at 21. I'm sure you're a little bit more well-versed in the NBA draft world than I am. I had to stop because I was just too obsessive. Like the one draft, I'll tell you right now, the Donovan Mitchell draft, I was a complete sicko. I wanted
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell. I watched so much highlights on the kid. I was like, they have to draft them. They have to draft them, and then they don't draft them.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, Luke Kennard, like I like you, but like you're not a Donovan Mitchell. But anyways, I agree with you. I think they are looking for kind of like that two guard that could possibly average like 18 to 20 points a game to take the stress off of Cade Cunningham.
Yeah, and I think it depends too, because we saw when Marcus Sasser, like I'm a big fan of Marcus Sasser, especially in his time at Houston, right? He is kind of that, he's not a tall guard by any stretch of the imagination, but he has a great motor, has a ball on the string, can shoot, wide open shots, his spot up percentage is pretty good. And he hit big shots for us in the playoffs. But again, he didn't have a lot of minutes to his name either, right? But that's kind of when, JB started to play around with lineups a lot more. And we saw him make big shots for us, which I think a lot of Pistons fans were like, thank God he, finally got in because he can do damage. But he's not the caliber of, player we're kind of looking for as a secondary creator. He's great guard off the bench for us depth wise, but we kind of need that, cold point guard that, can just run up the stat sheet for us.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like I know Marcus Sasser's limitations. Like if he was maybe like 3 inches taller, you could kind of convince me maybe that is a two guard of the future. Like I love the minutes that he got this year. Obviously, I think a lot of Pistons fans are really frustrated because if you look at just his like raw numbers, just shooting, like his true shooting percentage was like off the charts this year, but it's like he just wasn't really getting the playing time to actually like be an everyday guard. And when you look at like Duncan Robinson, Karis LeVert, like it was going to be really hard for him to crack any type of minutes under JB. But I do agree with you. Not too surprising that we agree that the Pistons do need a secondary creator, whether that's making a splash in a big trade. Don't know. Maybe it's a Tyler Hero. Maybe it's a Kyrie Irving. I don't know. Even though Kyrie kind of looked pretty good in that run, he looked a little bit healthy. Kind of changed my mind a little bit. But hey, man, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, I think we always forget how good NBA players are at basketball when we see them doing like normal person things. Like that video of Kyrie just like absolutely, creating havoc on, real life humans, right? Like he is one of the best guards ever, right? He kind of transcended how people and players, are dribbling a basketball nowadays, right? The craftiness, the shiftiness. And yeah, I mean, he's also going into, his 15th season, right? He's coming off an ACL injury. I personally don't think the Pistons need to go for like a home run swing of that type of nature, because I think there's a lot of younger core pieces that we can get, especially on the wing if we were to do a trade. But I don't want to be giving up, 2 second rounds of first and then Ron Holland, Duncan Robinson, and then we're kind of, left with, I kind of compare it to, what the Suns did when they kind of traded all their glue guys away to get Kevin Durant, and that didn't work out when they did the big three, right? So we don't want to end up in that position because they're kind of, they exceeded a ton of expectation this year with Jordan Knott. I believe he really changed the culture around there with, getting Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks. Ryan Dunn has had a really good season defensively on the perimeter for them as well. And Colin Gillespie, right? I mean, he set the Suns record for 3-pointers, and he's kind of the guard too that, the Suns are looking to re-sign. He's a type of player that one of the players that I will talk about later in this episode, he kind of reminds me of kind of the role Colin Gillespie could have if he were on the Pistons.
Well, awesome. Well, we'll get into the draft. I'm sure that's why people are here. They want to hear your expertise on just like the NBA draft. So I wanted to ask you, and it doesn't really have to be a target at 21. Could just be someone that you have fallen in love with just evaluating this season.
Yeah. So my guy is Braden Burries. Okay. He's kind of on the older end for a freshman. He's going to be 20 years old on draft night. But I kind of think him in the sense of, he's one of the highest floor but safest floor type of players in this draft, similar to how people think about Cam Boozer, right? And he's also a proven winner, 5-star recruit out of California, and he's just a big body guard. He's around 6'5", 215 pounds. He's consistent 3-level scoring guard that can play on and off the ball, high IQ player, making right read after right read. He obviously led Arizona to a Final Four appearance, and that Arizona team is loaded. I mean, they had 2 guys that could have been, late first round draft picks this year, but decided to go back to school. Ivan Karchekov and Mo Krivas in the front court. And obviously Koa Pete, right? But Jaden Bradley, right? I mean, Braden Burries has experience playing with, very primary ball handler and Jaden Bradley, right? So he really distributed, hey, like I'm the type of player that he is. He's just very comfortable in his game. He's able to get to his spots at all 3 level. He is such a crafty finisher at the rim. He converted 65% of his shots at the rim, right? And his footwork is impeccable for a freshman guard. I mean, the way he can get to his spots and just play that old school like bully ball in the post, you don't really see a lot from, freshman guards like Braden Burries, right? And he does have some on-dribble juice to his game. He's still he's not really looking to do that as much on the perimeter because he's not like a volume 3-point level point guard, but he's super capable of hitting, the spot up, catch and shoot. And you have to guard him on the perimeter, right? Because he shot 39% from 3. But he's really going to do his damage at the rim in the mid range. And I think he's a lottery lock for me. I don't think he will be available at 21 for the Pistons, but he's the type of player that I believe will be a steal in the draft. Whatever team, gets him, he's the type of player that I compare to Allen Graves as well. Like every player needs Braden Burries because of the value that he holds. And one of the things with Burries too that I just loved watching him do this season for Arizona is that he's awesome at playing off 2 feet. And that is such a prime skill that in the playoffs, you need to know what to do, especially if you're a guard at that level. And he also has that frame already, 6'5", 215 pounds. And he can just bully you to the rim, which if you're looking at a lot of these guards in this class too, they're going to add muscle, right? They're going to add strength. That's just, the name of the game as you get older, especially when you're with, strength and conditioning staff in the NBA. But Burries already has that foundation to work with, and he is just going to grow and grow from there. He's kind of a player that I look like he can handle the contact at the rim because he's already proven it at such a high level for Arizona.
I have a couple, which I know they're not in the Pistons range, but like I can't remember a draft class that had this many good like guards. Like it's insane. Like when you talk about just like guys at like that, like Darius Acuff, for example, and then you can go down to like an Abuka Okori. Like one of the guys that I really like is Kingston Fleming because he's just so athletic. I see him all over the place. Like the more I watch him, like the more I fall in love with his game. He's just like a super athletic guard, can defend, can play multiple positions. Like I really like him personally.
Yeah, Kingston Fleming's like I've mentioned it before, but this draft class is kind of like what type of flavor are you going with? Because you can kind of choose like Kingston Fleming's like he's gonna take you to the rim and jump out of the gym with you, but he can also affect you from the 3-point line. He's a great playmaker as well. Sees the floor really well, can operate in transition. And then Darius Acuff, who is just such a dynamic, skillful, versatile guard that can get hot in a hurry as well. And if you're looking at these guards, there's a chance, 5 of them can go back to back to back, right? And then obviously Keaton Wagler of Illinois that has more of a methodical, slow-paced game, but he'll attack you in the same ways, right? He's not the greatest athlete, right? He didn't have any dunks on the season, but he's a smart athlete. He's a different type of athlete that can produce for you. He's efficient, and he also had a major role for Illinois, getting to the Final Four this year.
Yeah, it's insane. I can't remember. Like, I know one of my buddies does the Brooklyn Nets podcast, and he's just like, we might take another point guard. I was like, you kind of have to. Like at this point, it's just like if you land with Mikel Brown Jr. or Kingston Fleming or Darius Acuff, I feel like you're in good hands. Nothing against Igor Demon. Like there's levels. Like they're way better prospects in my opinion at the point guard position.
Yeah, and to your point, your guy, Kingsley Flemings, he is such a master at changing speeds and changing space. Like, whenever I see point guards of Flemings, like, be able to do that, especially as a freshman, it's kind of like, yeah, this guy's special. This guy gets it. But yeah, to your point, it's kind of like, okay, well, one of the guards fall possibly 21st. Like, anything can happen in the draft. That's what makes it so fun, especially in a generational draft like this. Because there's been, when, the college basketball season ended, everyone's trying to get their super early, mock drafts ready. And now it's like, what you thought then is complete chaos now. So it's super fun to kind of plug and play all these players in their ultimate landing spot.
I agree. Like, if you guys haven't checked out No Ceilings Mock Draft Simulator, definitely check it out. I was able to get Yaxel Lendenberg at 21 because Golden State decided they wanted to take Alan Graves really early. I was like, yo, like, I'll take Yaxel at 21. Like, I had my pick between like Yaxel and Hans Steinbeck. I was like, I think I'm gonna roll with Yaxel. I'm gonna go with the local kid. But I mean, I love what the work you guys do over there. It's anytime I need to watch a highlight reel, to like a 25-minute highlight reel on YouTube, and I'm locked in.
Yeah, I appreciate Anthony. All of us do an exceptional job over there. Our draft guide just released as well. 300 plus pages, 80,000 words. Like, that thing is everything you need before June 26th when the draft, starts. And you mentioned our mock draft simulator can also do team specific. You can do a Pistons big board of, 10 players that you want the Pistons to draft at 21. There's a lot of things you can do with it. Just released a couple days ago. So yeah, it's been fun. So I think in the upcoming, few months, next draft, we're going to continue to add, more variables to it. But yeah, it's been an exciting week for us for sure.
Yeah, I've probably done it at least 10 times a day just to I was like, I hope I don't crash the website.
I love it.
Hope I don't crash the website. I was just like, man, like this is way too much fun. I was like, man, Cameron Carr's already gone. Damn it.
Well, I'm surprised it didn't crash when you got Yaxel at 21.
I was surprised. I was just like, man, Aaron Peterson fell to 4. What?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on, man? Yeah. But it's a lot of fun. I definitely encourage a lot of people that haven't checked it out. Definitely do. I think you guys will also have a lot of fun. Make your Pistons big board. I know a lot of you guys will probably send me it, and we'll probably talk about it on the podcast. But I wanted to kind of like stick with the draft. There's always sleepers in the draft. Sure. If you could maybe just narrow it down to a couple for you, who do you think will be the biggest sleepers in this draft?
Yeah, so I think Merez Johnson is a big one for me. I had the opportunity to go to Michigan Pro Day back in October, and I didn't get to see Yaxel because he was sick. And all of us were like, oh, like, we had no idea. We were here to kind of see him initially, right? But Merez Johnson, like, how you are next to Jalen Duren, that's how big Merez Johnson, like, he is a massive human being, 6'10", 250 pounds, just built like a train, really. He's one of the best two-way versatile players in this draft, has shown a lot from his freshman season at Illinois to be able to stretch the floor a little bit more. He's not going to, look to get a shot off at the perimeter, but he has a concise, balanced shot. His mechanics look good from out there. But for, him being a sophomore and, Michigan won the national championship this year, right? Like, he was a stone cold leader on the court, and especially when his shot wasn't falling or he wasn't getting to his spots, he was telling Yaxel, Mara, Elliot Cadeau, right, to get to their spots. Like, he's always communicating to his teammates, and he's one of the best finishers in this class as well. He shot 75% at the rim. Like, this guy does not miss at the rim, and he's explosive, he's powerful. And not to mention, like, he's one of the biggest risers too, because he had an exceptional combine performance as well. So he's a player that I really think that any team that runs away with him is going to be like, yeah, like, we got our guy, right? So I think he's number one sleeper for me. I would be jumping for joy if the Pistons somehow landed him, but I really think he is a lottery pick. For Merez Johnson. What are your thoughts on Merez Johnson, Anthony? Just curious.
I feel like knowing the Pistons, it would be so tempting for them to take him.
Yeah.
Because I think defensively, he checks all the boxes that JB Bickerstaff would love in a player. I just question like how many years away is he from actually contributing like every day offensively. But I think all the Michigan prospects in this draft, whether it's Yaxel, Daymara, or Merez Johnson, like I could totally see all three of them going top 15. I'd be really shocked if he fell. Like I know Tankathon has him at 22, which to the Sixers, like I would be shocked if he slipped that far.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And the thing about me is that whenever I see a prospect that improves like drastically year after year, I'm like, this guy is like going to do the same thing in the NBA, because Merez Johnson, like he wasn't really known for even taking a lot of, outside shots, but he's shown that there are signs of that. He's shown that he is capable of being a connective passing piece, and his motor is off the charts, which obviously fits in to the Pistons culture. He's kind of like beef stew in the sense of like, he's going to come in, do his job, hype up his team, has that dog mentality. And he's also a proven winning player that I think, adding depth whenever we can with size and strength, it's kind of like, why would we not do that? Right. So, but I also think he fits a particular, not as needed need for the Pistons, but he's also a player that if he were to fall, I'm not 100% he will, but if he were, like it would be really tempting for the Pistons to take him there for sure.
Oh, I agree. I think the other power forward that I look at, like Zuby Ejiofor, gives me beef stew vibes all day. And I was looking at all his pre-draft workouts. Like it's like over 20 teams brought him in for a pre-draft workout. Like his projections, like early second, late first. Honestly, like if they do go power forward, Yaxel for me or Hans Steinbeck. Like the more I watch Hans Steinbeck, it's just like he might be there at 21. Maybe. I don't know. Like his stuff is just like his rankings and like his projections are all over the place. But like the more I watch him, he's just so fundamentally sound and is such a great rebounder.
Yeah, Hannes, like he's arguably the best rebounder in this class. He averaged a double-double. He's also, he's 6'11" as well, and show that he can shoot the rock from the 3-point line, right? He's not gonna wow you from the 3-point line. He had like 3 attempts per game, but knocked them down at an efficient clip. But he moves well laterally, vertically, and he could fit super well, I think, in terms of stretching the floor a little bit, because I think in the playoffs that was also very apparent too, because a lot of possessions were getting clogged, whether that be like turnovers and not a lot of pick and roll action. Like he's looking to shoot when he's popping out, and you don't see a lot of players from Hannes's archetype to do that, right? And I think we're kind of in this new era of big man that one, you have to display that you're going to at least look to shoot from the perimeter. You can stretch the floor a little bit, and you have good mechanics, and you also have to facilitate. You have to kind of be this breed of, a point center, right? You have to have that playmaking hub feel to your game. And another player that I like as a potential sleeper is Joshua Jefferson from Iowa State, which he kind of fits in that Zuby Ejiofor kind of category, is that he can just do a little bit of everything, right? And Joshua Jefferson also brings that size and strength too. 6'7". He measured at 6'7", 3/4 at the combine, 246 pounds, with a little bit of a plus wingspan at 6'10". And he took on his biggest offensive role in his senior season for the Cyclones. He had 4.3 assists per game. And he's also like a CEO at getting to the line as well. He went to the line 6.1 attempts per game at 70% clip. Like, this guy also understands to play his type of game, and he showed a lot of improvements shooting the basketball, but he's really there to make winning plays, create extra possessions, get to his spots, especially at the rim, and draw fouls, because not only is he very well versed in playing that kind of bully ball in the post and getting to his spots, but he also understands how to hit the cutters, how to hit the slashers, and some of the passes he was making, I'm like, oh my God, like, how is this even possible? Like, behind the back, like, no looks, like, he was just everywhere. And he did have that ankle injury for a little bit in March Madness, but came back from it. But he's the type of guy that I think from like in the terms of Zuby Ejiofor, like we're going to look back and be like, how did this guy not go earlier? And I really believe he will still be on the board at 21 for the Pistons. And he also brings that plus size, winning player, impact player, and the Pistons need a lot more of those connective pieces, right? And he kind of built, if you're going to create like a my player of a winning basketball player with all the connective glue guy winning pieces, it's Joshua Jefferson.
Do you think he'd be ready to contribute right away since he's a little bit of an older prospect?
I personally don't have any nags about older prospects. I think it's kind of a beaten tale in terms of I kind of value production, efficiency, consistency, improvement year after year rather than age. But he will be 23 on draft night, but Yaxo will as well, right? And he is kind of in the same talks of how I feel about Joshua Jefferson, is that these older players, like you're getting them on your rookie contract at their prime is kind of how I look at it in terms of, you know, hey, this prospect's older, like I don't know what to do, but I kind of look at it as like you're getting the best value you ever will for this type of player.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of Pistons fans have mentioned Joshua Jefferson. I'm kind of surprised that like when you look at mocks, he's kind of like late first, maybe early second round, because if you do watch him, I mean, I think if you're a Pistons fan, he checks a lot of the boxes that you want out of a prospect to come in on a 60-win team. Be interesting to see if he's more of a long-term 3 or a long-term 4. It kind of seems like he could kind of like a tweener, kind of like a Tobias Harris in a sense where he's able to play both positions.
Yeah, he's definitely a positionless player to me. He's more of like a roamer, help defender, but he can be a mismatch nightmare, especially when he switched on, you know, the 1 and 2s, right? So, and he's also a great screener, especially on the perimeter. I mean, he played with Tammy Lipsy, Milan Mancilovic, who was one of the best shooters in college basketball. Milan, you know, he went back, right, to college, but now he's going to Kentucky, which a lot of people were surprised, but his defense really does need some work. But I mean, I don't know if he's going to have a better season than he did at Iowa State. This guy shot nearly 50% on 8 attempts from 3-point range, off movement, off catch and shoot, spot up attempts. Like he did everything, but he elected to go back to school. And Joshua Jefferson was a big focal point of, you know, setting up one of the best shooters in college basketball. So I think pairing him with Cade, Karis LeVert, Duncan Robinson, and, you know, electing to set up our shooters because we do need a lot more playmaking, especially from the perimeter. He would be a great fit for the Pistons at 21, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of segues perfect into our next topic of, for you, what prospects do you like for the Pistons at 21 that you think will be in range?
Yeah, it's funny, Anthony, because when we kind of posted a couple of weeks ago, we kind of had very similar big boards, which is funny. And I think one of my other guys that I've just fallen in love with this draft class is Cameron Carr. So for people that are just tuning in to the draft, kind of, you know, getting their know-abouts of all the prospects, Cameron Carr, if you're looking at what a 3-and-D player is, it's Cameron Carr, right? He's 6'6", 7'1" wingspan, had the second best max vertical at the combine, 42.5. And he is just an hyper athlete freak. I mean, this guy will dunk on anyone standing his way at the rim. And Baylor had a pretty bad season compared to normal, right? And him and Tunde Yesufu were basically the only offensive highlights for them. I mean, he and Cameron Carr took on such a huge offensive load that he's not going to carry in the NBA. Like that's not going to be his role. He's going to be in 3D wing that, you know, can operate from all 3 levels. He shot 70% at the rim, right? And he's also awesome at defensive playmaking as well. You know, he has that huge long wingspan, can operate weak side, can also defend the rim when he can, right? But we have Jalen Duren and Beef Stew, right? So him kind of being the first line of defense, I feel extremely good about. And he can get the ball and just go off defensive rebounds. He's great at creating extra possessions. And if you're looking at Cameron Carr, he's rising, right? Because a lot of people are kind of like, okay, I'm on the Cameron Carr wave, because he's not gonna, one thing that really people need to understand too is that he went like he took on such a huge offensive role, but he just continued to be efficient, be consistent at all three levels, which is such a hard thing to do because in Tennessee, he didn't play really at all. Like he dealt with a few injuries, but Rick Barnes didn't play him at all. He really had one of the biggest rises in this draft class, right? Because people aren't really talking about him even being in lottery consideration at the first in preseason, right? But now he is. Cameron Carr is here to stay, and I think if I'm Detroit, I'm running to the podium if Cameron Carr is available at 21 because there's no way I'm going to let this guy slip. But Oklahoma City Thunder also has 2 picks before us, and that makes me I don't think Sam Presti would ever let a guy like Cameron Carr slip. I think he would kind of be banging his head against the wall if he did. Cameron Carr is that good.
Yeah, to me, when I saw a lot of Pistons fans hype him up during the season, because I would keep tabs on who are the first round picks because I didn't know if the Minnesota pick was going to convey, and then it did. I was like, okay, cool. That combine just raised his stock so high, dropping 30 points. I was like, shit. There's no way he's gonna be there at 15. I personally think he's the type of archetype that Trajan really covets. Trajan loves wigs. He drafted guys like Trey Murphy, Herb Jones. I honestly think if Trajan really wants to, put some chips on the table, this could be his Trey Murphy in Detroit, because I see a lot of similarities in Cameron Carr and Trey Murphy in a sense. The athleticism is just insane. I feel when I watch the tape, he just has at least 1 or 2 poster dunks. He already has NBA range. The playmaking, I think, is really underrated. People don't really talk about the playmaking. That Baylor spacing was Monty Williams spacing. It was so bad between him and Tonde. I don't really blame Tonde for transferring to St. John's. I don't. I get it. Yeah. To me, he would just be a trade up target. Even though with these mock drafts of him falling, I doubt he gets past. If he does get past OKC for some odd reason, I doubt Charlotte passes on him twice.
Yeah, I mean, I could not imagine a scenario that happens, but I think I'm just living maybe a little bit in La La Land if it does. But yeah, I mean, his shooting splits were also incredible too. One of the players that, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. He is Trey Murphy, and that is one of our biggest trade options that has been talked about is how do we get a player like Trey Murphy, Lauri Markkanen, right, or an MPJ type of player, but we could get Cameron Carr at 21, right, on a rookie deal, right, because his shooting splits to 18.9 points, 5.8 rebounds, 2.6 assists, and I mentioned the shooting, but this guy is an awesome movement shooter. He can shoot off screens, he can shoot off curl actions, and he shot 37.4% on a little over 6 attempts per game, and this is a guy that can operate in a lot of schemes. It doesn't really matter the fit because a lot of players or a lot of teams need a player like Cameron Carr. And I also think the Miami Heat would probably take a look at Cameron Carr too, a little bit before us. So yeah, I mean, he's my number 1 player for the Pistons. But again, as you mentioned, he's more of a trade up option at this point. But the draft is a lot of question marks, a lot of chaos can happen. So, I mean, it just depends what obviously the other teams do, but maybe he'll be there at 21.
Yeah, maybe he will. I see a couple of point guards that I think could be in range, a Bennett Sturts, for example.
Yeah.
Kind of talk Pistons fans into Bennett Sturts if you can. I know last podcast I had on, we went down a rabbit hole of the Pistons track record of not drafting the best white prospects. I don't even know how we got down that rabbit hole, but got to talk us into Bennett Sturts if you could.
Yeah, so I personally had to warm up to Bennett Sturts throughout the season. A lot of the guys at No Ceilings were higher on him than I was. And then kind of when I was doing my final film dive, getting prepped for the draft, I was like, okay, I need to reevaluate kind of everything with this guy. And the short sell with Bennett Sturts, age aside, he's almost 23 years old, but he has one of the best stories in college basketball too. I mean, he came from D2 at Northwest Missouri State, then to Drake, obviously followed Ben McCollum to Iowa, had an Elite Eight run with them. He is a wizard, playmaker, master at getting to his spots, slippery, smooth mover with the ball in his hands, had an insane offensive load, but he still put up the numbers because one of the biggest questions with Bennett Sturge is like, okay, he's going to play power forward basketball for the first time in his life. Is he going to have relatively the same numbers that he put up at Drake? Because last year he was also in lottery conversations, top 20 conversations, but then he elected obviously to go back to school. And, the good news for Bennett Sturge is that he did, right? He did everything that we thought he would do. And he did it at such an efficient rate. I mean, he took 258 threes this season he shot at 35.8% clip. Last year was 39.5% on 162 attempts. And I mentioned Colin Gillespie, but I mean, Colin Gillespie and Bennett Sturge kind of go hand in hand of what Bennett Sturge can be for a team, right? Like he just plays his own game. He's able to get to his spots. He doesn't really, like you saw in March Madness, right, against when they're about to go to Elite Eight, like his shot was not falling. And you can tell a lot about a player, especially with Bennett Sturge. It's kind of like, okay, if his shot's not falling, he has his playmaking to fall on. He has his process ability to fall on. And that was on full display in that game. And that really proved to me kind of in the later half of the season, like this guy doesn't shy away from adversity. And he's not an athlete by any stretch of the word, but he's a type of athlete that you want to be like. He's relied upon. He's steady. You're not really going to have that, butterfly in your stomach feeling with him, operating on the pick and roll or, taking the game by the reins, right? He's that type of player that you just feel like this guy's going to show up and play his game. And I think if you're looking at, I know a lot of Pistons fans are like, we need size, we need strength, right? We need more shooting. Bennett Sturge plays a lot bigger than he does, right? Doesn't mean athleticism won't be an issue. I think it will in the first 2 years of his NBA career, right? But I think it's something that he will figure out because he's figured it out at every level now, which is super telling, age aside, right? But not a lot of players, do that, right? They don't follow their coaches a lot anymore. They don't stay, they're kind of, okay, if I have to go to a higher level, am I still going to produce? But he went to that challenge and he exceeded expectations.
Yeah, I feel like he's a name that I think could possibly be in range. I know a lot of Pistons fans in the comment section right now. They're like, dude, no. I know they were asking about Christian Anderson, which when I watch him, like, I love how he operates out of the pick and roll. Like, for a prospect that possibly could be at 21, do you think he could be a good fit with Detroit?
Yeah, absolutely. Christian Anderson is one of the best pick and roll ball handlers in this draft, right? And he really showed out in the combine too. I didn't think, like, I knew he was athletic, but I was like, no, this guy is an athlete. Like, he's only 6'2". He measured 6'1" in shoes, but he has a 6'6" wingspan, only 180 pounds, but he had a 41 max vert at the combine. And he was also the third best shooter, shot 73.7% at the combine. And my guy, Nathan Grubel, he has been on Christian Anderson's tail the whole season. Like, he thinks Christian Anderson could be a superstar point guard in the NBA. And that's because Anderson has such a special combination of playmaking, ball handling, shooting, pick and roll understanding, and a lot of his shot creation too. I mean, only 50% of his threes were assisted, right? Like, he can operate off the dribble, off the ball. And too bad JT Toppin got hurt with the ACL injury, because I do believe Texas Tech could have made it really far in March Madness. But you don't really, like, if you're comparing him and Bennett Sturge, like, Christian Anderson obviously wins the athlete battle, right? Oh, yeah. But Christian Anderson also, struggles a lot with his frame and size too, which is definitely a concern for me, because if you're looking at one of my guys, Braden Burries, that's not an issue with him, right? Like, I think Christian Anderson does have star qualities. It might just take him a little bit longer, but I mean, I can see him fitting perfectly well in Detroit, especially with Cade Cunningham operating off ball. He has a lot of counters to his game, right, on the perimeter. He can pick apart defenders in isolation. He can go to attack the rim. He can slash. He can cut. I really love his off-ball movement. And with Bennett Sturts, like, he didn't really cut or slash as much as, you would like him to, but that's because he had one of the highest offensive usages in the country, right? But if you have, the likes of Cade Cunningham, that's going to be lifted off him a little bit. Same with Christian Anderson, for Christian Anderson to go to work. And if I know a lot of, when I was kind of evaluating Christian Anderson, I'm like, Rob Dillingham, right? Because Christian Anderson kind of has that same pizzazz to his game, right? He can get hot in a hurry and kind of just, let the rock fly at every given range. He has parking lot range, true NBA range at, every sense of the perimeter. And also as in the mid-range too, like, he has great touch and feel on his runners and hook shots. He's not afraid of going into contact, even though he is on the skinny side, which is super telling for him too. And I think him showcasing this a lot more in his sophomore season was super telling. But him, I think, will definitely be at 21. But I mean, you never know, because this guard class is so loaded. Like, it could go either way. So yeah, I would definitely be excited if Christian Anderson was still at 21 for sure.
All right, I want to ask you one more guard, and then I see some people talking about Isaiah Evans and some other players. So Buka Okori out of Stanford. I've been asking a lot of people, like, who are their favorite prospects for the Pistons at 21, and he's been getting a lot of love. I know he's a little bit shorter. He's a shorter point guard, but what do you like about Buka Okori, and do you think he could be another point guard that could fit within this Detroit Pistons system?
Yeah, Buka Okori is one of the best downhill drivers in this draft class. He has a very special way of manipulating defenses downhill. He's only, as you mentioned, he's on the shorter side as well. He's about 6'1.5" with no shoes, but at 185 pounds. And he has such a special combination of on-ball scoring, has that really shiftiness, craftiness to his game. And he's also a menace at getting to the line too. And Stanford kind of stunk this year too. So he, again, with these guards that are kind of in this range, that if you're pairing them with a team like the Pistons that already have, their primary ball handler and playmaker, but you're having these guards that had the production, had the shooting, had the 3-level scoring ability, and they can get to the line and into the mid-range and has, the playmaking ability, it's going to be okay. Because with Buka Okori too, he has that frame and size. He has really broad shoulders, long wingspan, that he's not going to get knocked off the spots as, Christian Anderson or Bennett Sturts, because he has that athletic ability and he moves well laterally and vertically as well. But it really, like, when you have these freshman point guards that kind of just show out in their freshman season, is because, like, they didn't really have a lot of help too. And a lot of the question why Okori was kind of lower to start kind of the draft cycle, and he's definitely has been a huge riser this year too, is because a lot of people were concerned about his playmaking, right? But you have to have players that, make shots to have assists on the score sheet, right? And with Stanford not being, the best team, they're like 20-19 or 20-9 this season in the ACC. Like, Okori didn't have a lot of help. So when he did have, was able to showcase his processing ability and playmaking ability, he did. I mean, he had 3.6 assists on the season to only 1.9 turnovers per game, and he had a 24% assist rate, right? And I think with Okori too, I think if you're, putting all three of these in kind of like a rank them situation, like, I would probably go Christian Anderson, Buka Okori, then Bennett Sturts if I'm, in the pecking order for the Pistons, because they each kind of, it's kind of like what you value the most. But I think for the Pistons, they kind of want a two-way ball handler that can kind of get started pretty fast. And that's Buka Okori and Christian Anderson, just because that they have that athleticism, they have that on dribble juice, and they can also attack you from all three spots on the floor.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know a lot of people kind of wondered, like, what he could be at the NBA level, because he did play at Stanford, and like the assist rate, I think, is like what really draws Pistons fans.
Yeah.
That and the street ball handle that the kid has, like it's like go to the park type of handles. Like he's got that thing on his string, and not to mention, like I think the 3-point shot could definitely be ready in the NBA like right away. I know one of my good friends who's a credential NBA photographer, like he's like, I think he could be the Tyrese Maxey of this draft. I was like, hey man, you never know. You never know. You never know. Like I do see some other people talking about non-point guards. Henry Vassar out of North Carolina. I doubt the Pistons draft a center, but you never know. He can't stretch the floor a little bit. Like, what do you like about him at the center position?
Yeah, I think Henry Vassar, he definitely, especially when Caleb Wilson got hurt too, Vassar definitely showcased, like, he's a little bit more athletic than I initially thought this season. He brings that size and frame. He's a lot better laterally than I thought. And he can also stretch the floor. But if I'm like going hand in hand with a guy we already talked about, Hannah Steinbach, I'm going to choose Hannah Steinbach just because he's a little bit more fluid. He's a little bit more consistent on the 3-point line, can operate a little bit more in the mid-range too, of like getting to his spots, creating extra possessions. Henry Vassar, I have him right now in the second round of my board. But I do understand why Pistons fans are like, hey, like I kind of like that guy. And there's like a lot of guys that I feel like that too in this draft class. It's kind of like, well, this guy I kind of like more today, or this guy I don't like as much, the next day. I kind of feel like that with Henry Vassar, but I think there's a lot of other teams that are in desperate need of a player like him. I just don't think the Pistons are one of them. And I think there's a lot of better choices at 21 for the Pistons.
He'll be a Celtic. He will be a like they need a center bad. Like I saw one of my good friends that covers the Celtics, and like I saw him talking about like Celtics should go out and get Robert Williams. I was like, damn man. I love Time Lord, but like you're gonna bring him back? For them, like I could totally see him going to the Celtics. That I think could make a whole lot of sense. Could be picking pops. Like I think it makes sense. I don't really think the Pistons are going to draft a center in this class. There was one prospect that is like kind of projected second round, but some people said he could be in the Pistons range. It's an international prospect. I think his name is give me a minute, Luigi Sugio. I think he's like 7'4", like almost 300 pounds.
Yeah.
Like what's the deal with him? Because he looks like Brooke Lopez, and he's like kind of looks like a Neymar sometimes when I watch him. It's honestly kind of crazy.
Yeah, like he in the like Mara, like for one, and then I'll get to Luigi. Like Mara, he kind of exceeded like everyone's expectations at Michigan because he didn't like Mick Cronin didn't really know how to play Ade Mara, right? But Dusty May obviously did, and Mara showcased like he has great hands, he has great footwork, right? He showcases insane playmaking ability, and like what I mentioned earlier is that we're in this new era, new breed of center prospects, and add in that Ade Mara's 7'2", right, and is an insane lob threat, and he can also play with the likes of lottery picks of Merez Johnson, Yaxel Lendenborg, can also operate so well in the pick and roll as well. But I also have concerns about Mara as a perimeter defender because I saw him play in person 2 times at the Chrysler Center, and one of them was actually one of Michigan's only losses on the season against Wisconsin. I don't know. I might have been bad luck that game because I went to Michigan State and I witnessed one of their only losses on the season. But yeah, Mara definitely stood out and kind of a sour taste in my mouth in terms of perimeter defense because he's very stiff on the perimeter. And when you have these bigs that can pick and pop, right, he's going to struggle a little bit in the NBA. Same with, Luigi as well, because these guys, like Luigi has a lot more dribble offensive juice to his game. He can kind of come off screens really well. He has a really tight handle as well, which, if you're looking at a 7-foot guy, you're not really expecting them to have that sense of ball security, which I really like. But with these international prospects, like another one is, Kareem Lopez, right? He 6'6", can kind of, he's more, when you think of Kareem Lopez, it's definitely defense first. Like this guy has the size. He has a frame. He's only 19. He would be the first Mexico prospect to be in the first round, which is awesome as well. But he has a lot more. He also played for one of the best international teams, the New Zealand Breakers, and produced, right? And I think playing against grown men already at that young of age, he went to go play basketball overseas at 14 years old. Like, he's been doing this for a minute. Like, he's also a player that could be, at 21. I think he's, I think he kind of fits the mold of Sam Presti with the Thunder in his sense, because he didn't get a lot of like on ball reps with the Breakers, but in terms of, he sits down in the corner, can hit the catch and shoot, spot up shots, but he can also come off the weak side pick and rolls and really attack the rim, bulldoze his way into the rim as well. And he's also great at getting into the mid-range. That's kind of his bread and butter right now, but he's another international prospect I really like.
He scares me just because who his agent is. If you guys know, Pistons have Michael Tellem in the front office, and that is his only draft prospect is Kareem Lopez, which I'm like, we've done Tellem favors before. I mean, like, you're a Piston fan. Like, I'm sure this name is a throwback to Vitas Servetus.
Yeah.
like trading up for him. It was like, bro, like, who is that? Like, who?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we've drafted like a lot. Like, we have not had a good second round pick probably since Bruce Brown.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think how the draft is kind of trending too, because, if you look at the MVPs as well, like the last 3 and 4 have been international, right? Obviously Jokic and SGA. And I think we're kind of trending into a lot of people. You could be the casual fan, you could be really into the draft or NBA, but you're getting a lot more sense of people know these international prospects now, because the game has grown so exponentially worldwide, which is awesome to see, because I think, 10 years ago, you'd be like, who the heck is this guy, coming from, the New Zealand Breakers. But and the Breakers have a good track record as well, right? They had Nikola Topic, right, who was the top 4 pick. So, yeah, I think it just depends really of, what type of, because the Pistons can go so many different ways. Like we've mentioned, like 12 prospects that are like, oh, I could kind of see that, I could kind of see that there. And one thing I do want to talk about again with Okori is that of the 3 guards that we talked about, I really, really trust his defensive ability, especially at the point of attack, because not only does he have that strong base, long arms, but he can really, go against anyone. He's great at holding his own. He's great at tracking his opponents, tracking the ball, has his head on a swivel, moves his feet super well, never flat-footed. The effort is always there. And as I mentioned before too, he just kind of glides through offenses and defenses. Like, he's like a fairy on his feet. And I think, if you're looking at him too, because he has started to rise too. And I think he's really grown on me as well. Just watching the tape back, but watching his defense, like, I encourage Pistons fans to, wherever you can, watch his film, do it, especially his defensive highlights, because it's awesome. It's really awesome to see, especially when he's carrying such an offensive load, and especially for guards that are so offensive scoring for the offensive focus for their team. Like, if they're not hitting their shots, they're not getting to the line, it's kind of like, where do these teams go from here? But Okori really honed down, especially taking on that role. And that's very telling in terms of type of the prospect he is.
Yeah, I mean, I got 2 more prospects. A lot of Pistons fans have kind of fallen in love with Isaiah Evans, who, we look at the lack thereof of 3-point shooters. Yeah. There's a Duke connection, though. Trajan's from Duke. Like, does he draft his first University of Duke player? Is he a player that you think the Pistons should look at? Because I like the 3-point shot making ability, but I see some Pistons fans in the comment section say, well, you already have Chaz Lanier. Like, why would you need an Isaiah Evans?
Yeah, Isaiah Evans is the most confident shooter in the draft. Like, this guy doesn't care if he's, at half court. He doesn't care if he's, guarded with no space at all. Like, he's going to let it fly because he can. He has like the greenest of green lights at Duke. And one of the biggest things for him from his freshman season to this season is like, okay, what else can you do besides, shooting the rock? Like, his playmaking wasn't really there. He's still, on the skinny side at, 6'6", 180 pounds, right? He's kind of like when he, his first year at college, he's 5-star recruit. He was getting compared to Brandon Ingram, right? Just because of his frame and kind of his, ability. But he's a confident microwave scorer that can also play make, and his passing ability has really involved. Obviously, he played with Cam Boozer as well. And I think with Isaiah Evans, he also grew up a little bit and grew up as a leader, and he also improved. I know I mentioned I fall in love with prospects that improve drastically, year after year. And from his freshman to sophomore year, his assist rate went up, his rebound rate went up, his rim percentage went up, and his free throw attempts went up, which is super telling because it's kind of like, okay, Isaiah, like what else do you do other than, shoot the cover off the ball? And, he proves that because if you look at the numbers, he only averaged half an assist in his freshman season at Duke. He averaged 1.3 this year, but his offensive rebounding also went up as well. And his ability to get to the line more, he showcased, he gained like 15 pounds from last year to this year too. And it showed in the film because he only started 3 games last year and he played all 38 games for the Duke Blue Devils this year and got to the line 3 times per game. And he only went to the line 0.9 times per game last year. And he shot at 86% clip. So this is a guy, if you're kind of comparing him to the floor spacers that we have on our team right now, Duncan Robinson, right? Like Isaiah Evans is a lot more athletic than Duncan Robinson. Like he can play on and off the ball. He can kind of switch on point guards on the wing, and he can also fly in transition too because he does have that athleticism to them. And I think just having another transition threat as well, because he can hit one of the hardest shots in basketball at a really efficient rate is that, transition 3. Like he, like every single shot he takes is like a mirror of itself. Like this guy has his shooting mechanics down to a science. And with the confidence, you blend that in, you blend in the improvements he's made and his all-around game, you're getting super great value if he's available at 21.
Yeah, I can definitely understand, like, if you're just looking just for a great 3-point shooter, definitely could see him kind of being within range. He's kind of like a later first-round pick. One more guy, Malik Thomas. I see a lot of Pistons fans just kind of look at him and the bucket getter that he is. I see him late first round. Like, do you think that would kind of be a reach for the Pistons at 21 if they were to go for a Malik Thomas?
I think I'm in the same range as we think he's going to possibly be available, but like I also say the same thing about Abuka Okori, and most like recent mocks I've been seeing he's going higher and higher every single time, like every single day it's changing. And so I was a huge fan of his teammates, Billy Richmond, and Billy Richmond kind of did like a fast one on us. He's like, hey, I'm entering the draft. Actually, I'm going back to Arkansas type of thing that kind of like shook up a lot of my personal big board and, the guys at No Ceilings big boards as well. Cause like we were for sure like this guy, why would he not go to the draft? And, Malik Thomas ended up staying in. He showcased a lot for me, especially when Darius Acuff wasn't playing as well. Like this guy can get hot in a minute. He is great 3-level scorer, can get to the rim well, super, super crafty and shifty with the ball in his hands, can play a lot of off ball too, right? But just kind of like that's a role he really confines in and has showcased he can produce in. And he's on, if you're looking at the athletic process we've talked about, Cameron Carr, Abuka Okori, Christian Anderson, right? Like he kind of fits in that range. But he has a lot more on dribble juice to his game. And he's also a connective piece that the Pistons need. The Pistons need, whenever you can just, rally up as many connective pieces that can shoot the rock, are athletic, have a little size to their game. Like Malik is also on the skinnier side, like Isaiah Evans, but I think he plays a lot better than his frame and size. It's a guy that, would fit in perfectly because he can operate in any type of scheme. He's great in transition as well. And he can also, he has a very well-versed shot diet. And he's also good at taking contact at the rim. And, he's another guard. We keep on talking about guards because there's so many good ones in this draft class. And there's a lot of options that, the Pistons front office has to go around in their mind of kind of like what way they're gonna go on draft night.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of prospects I think that'll be in range at 21, which is, hey, it's nerve wracking. I do not envy the front office at all because like 1 minute, like I'm like all in on Christian Anderson. Next minute, I'm like, I don't know, like could we kind of get an Isaiah Evans? It's
Yeah.
I flip flop every day, like so I don't envy these guys in the front office at all.
Yeah,
Um,
and Malik too,
yeah.
like his shooting splits really came alive too. Like he opted, he acted a lot more confident as the season went on. John Calipari had one of his best teams at Arkansas, right? 43% from the field, 41.6% from the 3-point line at 5.3 attempts per game, 84% from the charity stripe, and at the rim too. He, finished at 77% at the rim, which is just absurd for, the type of athlete he is. He's only 6'4" and a quarter at 190 pounds, but, he plays a lot bigger than he is. And he also improved as, decision maker with his 2.5 assists to turnover ratio too. So there's a lot of ways Malik Thomas can fit into the Pistons offense and defense as well.
Yeah, I agree. I do have to talk about our sponsors over at FanDuel. And with the NBA Finals coming up, they actually have the San Antonio Spurs as a favorite, surprisingly. If you guys watched that game last night, I thought the game was over. They were up 29. Knicks come back. What are you feeling for the next game? You think Knicks close it out in San Antonio, or you think Wemby and the Spurs, get it 3-2?
I mean, they're coming off the greatest comeback in NBA Finals history, right? I think it was super telling. I think a lot of plays at the end, I know the obvious De'Aaron Fox, right, with his turnovers, his, should he have, tried to outrun OG with, 5 seconds left, right? A lot of mistakes that were made in all the 4 games at the end, right? And kind of the 2-minute mark, Spurs kind of showed their age there of, being one of the youngest teams that were playing the finals, right? That kind of came to fruition. And the New York Knicks, they don't quit ever. Like there's never a look on anyone's face like, okay, we're completely out of it, even when they're down 29 at halftime last night. And I did initially, before the playoffs started, had the Spurs going to the finals and winning in 6. But yeah, I think the Knicks do close it out tomorrow or in Game 5 in San Antonio, because I don't think they're gonna let the Spurs, get another one against them. I think with the Spurs taking the first home finals game in MSG in 27 years was kind of like, okay, like what's going on? And they responded in the best way you could have ever imagined. And I think OG has a really knack of, being NBA Finals MVP. Same with Kat, same with Brunson, obviously. But they're so well-versed. They never back down from a fight. And especially the Spurs, they're not going to shoot like that again, I don't think, in Game 5. Like they had 15 threes at halftime. And, obviously they had the second quarter collapse, right? They just couldn't make a shot to save their life. And I do think the Knicks will close it out in Game 5.
Yeah, same here. I can't use the 1973 like when they talk about titles anymore because they might actually win one. Kind of bummed out that we couldn't see them in the Eastern Conference Finals because that would have fed families. That would have fed families. I mean, especially with the regular season that we had against them. But obviously, they're playing at a whole different level.
Yeah.
Just one thing that just drives me crazy. I don't know about you. Do coaches like teach players how to box out anymore? Like if you box out, like you win the game.
Yeah, I mean, for one, no one was on OG. Like no one was guarding him on the inbound, and I like pointed out, I was like, what is going on? Like OG, the player he is, right? He's going to crash like no one's business, regardless of like where the shot is coming off the rim, right? Like the Spurs knew Jalen Brunson was going to have the ball in his hands on the last shot of the game, right? But I mean, Wemby was right there, De'Aaron Fox was right there, like. They kind of just watched him in slow motion, kind of have that tip in. And especially, the last play of the game too, like Kat barely tipped that lob, right? And I think who knows what have happened, but I mean, Seth Castle was pretty open on that lob tip attempt. So I mean, could it be different? But it's not. That's not how reality is. But yeah, I think especially with the refs were a huge problem in every single game, right? But I know Knicks fans were pretty upset, to say the least, with the refs showing last night. But I mean, ultimately they came out with one of the greatest wins I've ever seen. So
yeah, I mean, Mr. Ray says I watched Keaton Wagler turn away from the rim when the ball goes up. What are they teaching these kids? Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. LaMelo Ball had like a crazy one during the play-in tournament, or it's just like he could have had a layup and then he like ran and like hit a corner three and it went in. I was like, bro, like what?
Like, yeah, what? Like one of my favorite examples too is that DeAndre Ayton 2021 finals and 2022 season, like he just like would not box out for the life of him. And this guy's 7'1", like he was the number one pick. Like, and he just kind of like the motor slowly dissipated and like he just could not be bothered boxing out and showing effort on the defensive end, especially when he's going against, the Giannis's of the world and, overpowering big man. Like he could just not be bothered. Right. And he still kind of is like that today.
That's crazy. I have one more topic for you. I know we talked about Cameron Carr, so I'm going to try to like keep him out of like this conversation. So if you can't trade up for Cameron Carr, is there another prospect if you're Detroit that would intrigue you?
Yeah, I think Cameron Carr is kind of like my number one trade up option personally for me. And I know a lot of people have been Koa Pete, to start the year, especially with, the first game he had against Florida, dropping 30 points, just bulldozing, 2 All-Americans to the rim and Alex Condon, Ryan Thomas Houck. Like he was definitely, a lottery lock at that point of the season, but he definitely, in all the videos that are coming out of his shooting mechanics, like it's kind of like, what are people doing with his shots? Like we don't want like another Johnny Davis on our hands, right? Like with people messing with prospect shots so early on. So at the time, like in preseason, if you were to ask me, I'm like, okay, Koa Pete is definitely a guy I would consider trading up for. But I know Yaxel is obviously the main focus for a lot of Pistons fans. I personally love Merez Johnson a little bit more than Yaxel. And Yaxel, like he's 6'9", 225 pounds, can dribble, pass, shoot. He was kind of a late bloomer too, right? He wasn't really highly recruited out of high school. Went to JUCO, then obviously had his All-American season at UAB, averaged a double-double, and, went to Michigan and won a national championship and showcased that he is, kind of like Bennett Sturt's kind of trajectory. Like it doesn't matter the level, like he's going to produce and put up numbers and stuff, the stat sheet. And with Yaxel too, like he kind of was in a shooting slump for kind of like the middle half of the year, right? He just could not hit an outside shot to save his life, but, he kind of prevailed in doing so and, kept attacking the rim, doing what he does, overpowering in the mid-range, making, great defensive plays for his teammates, creating extra possession, and also his playmaking vision. Like you're getting a guy at 6'9" that is one of the best two-way bets in this draft, right? And I think if you're looking at other teams that are ahead of the Pistons, right? You have the Oklahoma City Thunder, you have the Miami Heat, the Warriors, I think could take a shot at him, and also the Milwaukee Bucks. But the Milwaukee Bucks are kind of interesting because I really don't know what way they're going. I think a lot obviously rides on Giannis, but they're definitely a team that I could see, wanting to take Yaxel off the board. So, but I think Michigan could very likely have 3 other guys in the lottery pretty easily with, Ade Mara, Yaxel Lindenborg, and Merez Johnson. But Merez Johnson, you can go both ways with him and Yaxel to trade up for, but I personally would go Merez Johnson Jr. just because I'm really more confident in his ability to affect the game at the next level. He's a winning player. He's improved year after year. And I think he just fits a lot better in a lot of different teams types. And I think with Yaxel, he might have a little bit of not a learning curve, but I think there's obviously some talks about, maturity issues and whatever the case may be. Like he had all those TikToks going around, right? But he's also a 23-year-old college kid. Like that stuff happens. But I don't know. I think like he's just showcased a lot more for me that I didn't expect from his first year at Illinois to now. So those two players I would definitely consider trading up for, but I also think you can get such great ROI for the Pistons at 21.
Yeah, same here. Like I'm probably either a Yaxel guy or a Steinbach guy.
Yeah.
I could totally see him like going like top 15. Like the
Yeah.
more I watch him, I see like a lot of like young. Before you guys just like troll the comments, I say younger Lauri Markkanen. Younger Lauri Markkanen before he just turned into like this like sniper from three. I see a lot of the same fluidity. I cannot talk either today when I watch him, but I've just fallen in love with him and his ability just to grab rebounds and protect the rim. But I wouldn't be mad. Like obviously Cameron Carr would be like my number one option if that happens, but I think this draft will be very, very entertaining. Probably the first draft that I'll actually like be locked in. Like last year's draft, like outside of like the top 5, I actually like turned it off. I was like, I don't really care. I'm good.
Yeah, I think a lot more people just all over are so locked in to this draft because it's one of the best draft classes we've ever had. Like it's generational and you can get a star in the making, especially at, mid to late first round. Like it is that loaded. And I think with some of the players that opted out at the early entrant deadline, you're just getting a lot more, value in these players, that you could have got in the second round too. So yeah, it'll be definitely interesting. I think we're kind of in the same wavelength of some players that are worth trading up for, some players aren't worth trading up for. But it's a good thing for the Pistons that you have so many options to choose from. And not one is like, oh God, like a horrible option when you look at, the big boards out there.
Yeah, I think whoever they come away with, whether they stay at 21, whether they possibly trade up, maybe they trade the pick and like we're getting a Michael Porter Jr., for example. Like you never really know, but I think it definitely will be a very fun draft. I do want to give you the floor though to plug and promote where people can find you. I know you do some draft coverage. That's why we brought you on with No Ceilings. Now you also do Snapback Sports, which is a really big social media brand as well. So tell the people where they can follow you at.
Yeah. So my socials are Paige Otto _ on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter as well. And for Snapback Sports, you can follow us at Snapback Sports _ on all social media platforms. We go around the country trying to find the best experience in sports. I'm our social media and marketing manager, handle all of our socials and talent. And I do that full time. And then I'm also building No Ceilings with my whole other team of guys from around the country of, providing the best draft coverage possible 24/7. We just launched our 2026 NBA draft guide. It is a beast. It is also NBA street themed, beautifully designed by our own Tyler Rucker. He's put in countless hours into that to making it how it looks, right? It's a work of art. It should be in the Louvre, in my opinion. But yeah, so it has 312 pages, 30,000 words, prospect chemistry. If you're a fan of Wolf on Wall Street, Sell Me This Pen section, which is pretty fun. And then it's on our website, noceilingsnba.com for $15. And if you're a NC Plus subscriber, you can get 5% off. And you can also get a deal on our merch as well. And then Anthony and I were talking about it earlier, but we also just launched a mock simulator at ncmockdraft.com where you can do any trades simulators for any teams, any players that you want, team-specific drafts as well, and full mock drafts. You can just do a lottery draft, first round or second draft. We have everything. We have everything for everyone. So yeah, it's been a fun week at No Ceilings for sure.
I bet every time I look, you guys are like launching something else. I was like, oh, dude, like I get like a mock draft simulator. Like I don't have to use like Fanspo anymore. Like let's go.
Yeah.
Like Fanspo would crash out on my computer every time, and I got like a virus, and then like the computer like spazzed out. I'm like, bro, what the hell did I just like download? But
yeah, especially at draft season, it was just like you don't know if you're going into it like what day it will work, what day it won't, but. Yeah, we still have some folks that we're working now, but yeah, it's been super fun to start off with.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. No more podcasts this week, you guys. I overbooked, as you guys know. I freak out when people don't reply to me within like a couple of hours. I need to work on that because I had 3 podcasts this week. We have a pre-recorded podcast that will be coming out Sunday. We talked with Wes Davenport from the Pin Down podcast of SB Nation. So hope you guys do enjoy that. But we will see you guys next week as we do get closer to this NBA draft. Hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. And as always, go Pistons. Peace.